2006 BMW X3 oil filter housing's leaking. I'm Brian Essa from How to Automotive. I'm going to show you how to pull that off and reseal it up. The first thing I'm going to do to get started is unplug the mass airflow sensor like this. Take the hose clamp off here, take the lid off, and you're going to pull the snorkel out. Now I'm going to pull this little wire loom that's attached to the box here off, right here. And now I'm going to take the two tins out and pull the bolt, the bottom box out. Next, I'm going to remove the 13mm bolt here and here, and just pull the power steering reservoir over here and just let it hang over here. So now we need to take the drive belt off. And to do that, you're going to need a 16mm socket and a ratchet, and you need to set it up where it's going clockwise. And then right here, behind the just underneath the belt here, is a little spot where you put the ratchet on, and you're going to push downwards on it, and then that releases the tension, and you can slip your belt off. One of the things I wanted to show you is if you once you rotate the tensioner, there's a couple holes that you can line up and slide a dowel rod or an Allen wrench or something like that through, and it'll hold the tensioner in place. So we need to disconnect the negative battery cable. We're going to pull out the alternator. To do that, you're going to go in the back of your car, open the hatch up, and then lift up the floorboard and disconnect your negative battery cable. Now that the negative battery cable is disconnected, you can go ahead and reach back here and unplug the alternator here, and then take the nut off here, and the positive lead will come off. Okay, so now we need to get the bottom bolt of the alternator out first. And if you reach your hand around like this, and you can feel it, it's right there, and it's a 16mm bolt. So you're gonna you probably have to use a little extension in your ratchet and get that bolt out. And then once you get that bolt out, then you're gonna remove the top bolt for the alternator and then pull the alternator out, set aside. Okay, now that the alternator is out, I'm gonna remove the bolt here for the power steering pump and the bolt here for the power steering pump, and set those aside. I'm not going to remove the rest of the bolts on the pump, just those two. And then after that, we're going to disconnect the electrical connector here for the pressure switch, and then there'll be one more electrical connector back here. We're going to unplug. So after removing the two bolts for the power steering pump, you just let the power steering pump hang down like that. Next, we're going to do is on this hose, we're going to follow it back, and we need to disconnect it on the other end. It bolts right back here to the back of the oil filter housing. So you're going to take the bolt out there, and you're going to there's going to be a washer on this side and a washer on this side. You're going to need to catch. Also, at this point, you're going to need a bucket underneath the car, so once we start disconnecting the next few parts, it's going to leak oil, so you want to have something to catch that. And to get to the bolt on the Vanos hose here, I'm just going to use a flex head short ratchet with a medium socket here. It's 19mm, and just reach around back like so and crack it free, and then spin it off. So after removing the banjo bolt and the copper washers from the Vanos hose, the next step we're going to do is we're going to remove the bolt here, 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 and here, and also one more bolt right back here. So there's 6 in total, and also they're going to be different lengths, so keep track of which one went to which hole. So after you get them all removed, then you can, I took a little pry bar and put it back here and just pried it a little bit, and now you can pry the housing free and pull it out. The oil filter housing is removed from the block. You can go ahead and clean this all up, being careful not to let debris fall inside here. So I'm going to use a little bit of brake clean, some shop rags, and clean up all this area right here. Then after that, I'll clean up the oil filter housing itself. Then I'll pick out the O-ring here and replace it with the new O-ring. So after cleaning up the surfaces, putting on your new O-ring here, and cleaning up the block, go ahead and put the housing back into the, you want to line it up on the dowels here and here in the corner, and push it on, and then start all your bolts. Now that the housing's back on, all the bolts are started by hand. I'm just tighten up the middle one here, and then I'm going to move over to this one here. Then I'm going to go like a corner down here, and then I'll move up to here and kind of just do this crisscross pattern like this. And once I get them all tight, I may go back over them again in the same pattern, And I couldn't find the torque spec, exactly what the torque spec was, so I'm going to tighten them up to they're good and snug and about a quarter turn more, and then maybe go over it. Now the housing is rebolted back up and torqued down. Now we're going to reinstall our van hose here, and to do that I'm going to put new copper washer on, slide this through the hose, and then on the other side put the copper washer on, start the bolt. It takes a little bit of patience to start the bolt and the two washers on there, but once you get it done, you can take your ratchet, you put it back here, and you tighten the bolt up until it's snug, and then a quarter turn or just a little bit more with the ratchet, and you just kind of feel the little copper washers crush down a little bit. You don't want to over tighten it. It's very easy to break the banjo bolt on that. And that's it. So once that's tightened, now you can go ahead and plug in the electrical connectors. The electrical connectors are tight. Now you can go ahead and maneuver your power steering pump back over the bracket and start the two bolts and tighten those. Now it's time to put the alternator back on, and as you can see, mine has a little rust on it, and that means that there's a bearing or something going bad in the alternator, and it's probably a time to replace it. I presented it to the customer, but they don't want to do it right now at this time, so we're going to go ahead and reinstall it back in. But to make it happen easier, what I did was take a little brass hammer and I struck this little bushing here, and it drives the bushing out, and that'll help it slide onto the perch in there easier. Put that alternator back in, and these little ears right here go over right here, and then the bolt goes through, and then the top bolt. So go ahead and put the alternator in and put the two bolts in and tighten it. Bolt it back up, and go ahead and plug in the electrical connector, put on the positive lead, battery lead, and tighten the nut back down. Now we can go ahead and reinstall the belt, and I printed out a diagram for you just in case it fell off and you can't remember how it goes. This is courtesy of All Data. This is the information system we use at here at the shop. So if you put the dowel rod in right now, you can just slip the belt on and then use your ratchet and pull it, and pull the rod out, and then release the tension on the tensioner here, and you're done. If not, if you didn't use that, you'll have to torque it over and then put your belt on, and then release your tension. Now after getting the belt back on, we can go ahead and reinstall our power steering reservoir here and put the two 13mm bolts. Make sure you don't pinch the wire. Now that the power steering reservoir is bolted back up, if you may have noticed in my video that the upper hose was leaking, so I went ahead and changed that out, but that's not part of this video. I just want to point it out. The next step is we're going to do is to reinstall the lower portion of the box. So this is going to hook in like this, and then this part of the bottom of the box is going to go right over this little rubber grommet here, and then it's going to go down, and we're going to start the two 10mm bolts. Now that the air box is back in, we're going to put your little wire loom back on like that. Pull up the wire for the mass air and kind of hold it over here. And now we're going to go ahead and put the air filter in top portion of the air box here. After you get it all back on, make sure you got your mass airflow sensor plugged in and the clamp tight. Now I recommend that you take the oil filter out of the oil filter housing and replace it, and maybe drain the oil and change the oil, and also change the O-ring seal that's in the cap here, and then reconnect your battery, and that'll complete the oil filter housing on a 2006 BMW X3. This one has the 3-liter engine. I'm Brian Essick from How To Automotive. I'd like to thank you guys for watching my videos. Encourage you to subscribe. Invite you to head over to the howtoautomotive.com website for more valuable videos like this, and check out the tools and product page that I put together for you guys. And thank you again for watching.